Woosa, wake up South Africa. You've been sleeping far too long. Wake up South Africa.
Good morning, Sanvanani, Molweni, Dumelang, and Hare Krishna. Welcome to another Wusa Sunday morning inspiration session. My name is Nomsa and I'll be the host for today. Today we have a very lovely guest, local is like a guest, our very own South African devotee, Gaura Das Prabhu. Prabhu, I'd like to hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams. Dandavat pranams to everybody there in sunny South Africa. So first of all, I'd like to see, is it possible for me to see who's online? Nomsa, nice to see your smiling face. And thank you for the warm introduction. It's bedtime here in South Africa and we're struggling to get the kids to sleep. School tomorrow, so we got some interesting family dynamics to deal with. And so I'd like to thank Savya Sachi as well for giving me this opportunity to speak and to share some realizations with all of you. So today's topic, we chose crying for Krishna. Crying for Krishna is a very, very exalted and advanced stage of consciousness, which is necessary and is actually a reality which all of us experience and will experience more and more as we continue. So there's two ways that we can go in this meeting. So I'd like to get a bit of feedback from you. The one way is that we could make this very interactive and have some back and forth, some conversation. The other way is I could share with you more from the Bhagavatam. So what would you prefer? I'll ask you, not seeing as though you're the only face I can see.
From the chat that I'm reading from the participants is they'd like to hear from you and then they'd like to have a discussion at the end in the last 15 minutes because I'm seeing Bhagavatam, please. So Thank you so much, Pravita. So we'd like to hear from the Bhagavatam and then we'll have a Q&A at the end of the session. Cool. More interactive.
And if I can ask approximately how long would you like me to go on for? Because you have to take into account I have some Italian blood, so I can talk forever.
I think it's also South Africanism that we can talk till the cows come home. So we have till 11:45 for your talk, and then thereafter we'll give 15 minutes. But you can go over maybe till 11:50, and then have 10 minutes for the talk.
Okay, cool. So when it's about 11:45, just put your hand up so that I can see, because okay. I don't have a clock in front of me. Right, so we're going to read a verse today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, chapter 3, which is entitled Pure Devotional Service. And this is a verse that my Gurudev, he shared with me and kind of drove into my heart. Very important concept for us to grasp in Krishna consciousness, which I'm still trying to grasp. And As we all know, that Krishna consciousness is a process of the heart. And actually, it's a very simple process that even a child can take to the dancing, the chanting, the feasting. But we bring our baggage with us as we grow older and conditions, and we bring our baggage from millions of lifetimes. So we take that baggage with us into devotional service, and it covers and pollutes our devotional attempts. Of course, the devotional attempt itself is always pure. So each of us has that aspect of purity because we're practicing something which is pure, devotional service. But we bring with us, and I've brought with me so much of my contamination into my practice of Krishna consciousness. And so it's a process of trying to filter that out, get that out by the Lord's mercy. So this verse, text 24, Canto 2, chapter 3. So that's Canto 2, chapter 3, text number 24. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nastaprayasu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Anartopasamam Shakshad Bhakti Yoga Madoksaje Lokasya Janato Vidvas Chakre Satvata Samhitam. So today's verse, Tadasmasharam Hridayam Bhatedam Yadkriyamanair Harinama Deyai Vikriyatati Yada Vikaro Netre Jalam Gatra Ruheshu Harsha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which, in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes and hairs stand on end. So who here has had ecstasy taking place? I'm sure in the kirtan, you've had ecstasy taking place. Tears filling the eyes. Have you experienced this? And hairs standing on end. These are some symptoms which take place. And it's possible that in the beginning stages of Krishna consciousness, that we experience some of these symptoms. This is special mercy from Lord Nityananda. So I'm going to read the entire purport. I'm going to read sections of the purport, and we'll discuss therein. Prabhupada says, the whole process of spiritual culture is aimed at changing the heart of the living being in the matter of his eternal relation with the Supreme Lord as subordinate servant, which is his eternal constitutional position. So I'm sure you all know the verse. Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He explains in a conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami asks Lord Chaitanya, who am I? What am I? And Lord Chaitanya gives this definition of the soul. Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. The constitutional position of the soul is that we are eternal servants of Krishna. So the process of spiritual culture is to change the heart towards that. So with the progress of devotional service, the reaction of change in the heart is exhibited by gradual detachment from the sense of material enjoyment, by a false sense of lording it over the world, and an increase in the attitude of rendering loving service to the Lord. So this is the change in heart from enjoyer. Here we're trying to be the enjoyer to enjoyed, from the plane of exploitation to the plane of dedication. Everything that we do, even something like leading a kirtan, can be in the plane of exploitation, where we're trying to derive some benefit for ourselves from that. Of course, because we're doing kirtan, so that aspect of the purity will take us forward. But there may be a lot of mix in our practice of Krishna consciousness. So that part needs to go, so that we can change from that. While we're doing the kirtan, are we on the plane of exploitation? And so we're trying to get something out of it for ourselves, or is it the plane of dedication? We're doing something for Krishna. So we're going to get to the topic of crying for Krishna. We'll get there. Prabhupada continues, Vidhi bhakti, or regulated devotional service by the limbs of the body, namely the eyes, the ears, the nose, the hands, and the legs, as already explained here before, is now stressed here in relation to the mind, which is the impetus for all activities of the limbs of the body. It is expected by all means that by discharging regulated devotional service, one must manifest the change of heart. So if you carry on with the progress, will take place. It's not a matter of if it will take place, but rather when it will take place. Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Instruction that once beginning this process, one will be forcibly dragged to perfection. If there is no such change, so if the heart doesn't change, the heart must be considered, here's the pinch, steel frames. So if there is no such change in the heart must be considered steel frames, for it is not melted, even when there is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So the melting of the heart means we melt the heart from one shape, that shape of trying to exploit, and we mold it into another shape, the shape of dedication, giving pleasure to Krishna. We must always remember that hearing and chanting are the basic principles of discharging devotional duties, and if they are performed properly, there will follow the reactional ecstasy with signs of tears in the eyes and standing of the hairs on the body. So if you practice devotional service properly, then these results will take place. Tears in the eyes, standing of the hair on the body. These are natural consequences and preliminary symptoms of the bhav stage, which occurs before one reaches the perfectional stage of prem, love of Godhead. So don't be discouraged if your hairs are not standing on end and tears are not flowing down your eyes every time you pick up your japa bag, because it says here, these are natural consequences and are the preliminary symptoms of the bhav stage. So we may not be anywhere near the stage of bhav, which is very, very advanced. And it says bhav, which occurs before and reaches the perfectional stage of prem. So, but sometimes, like I said in the beginning, these symptoms do appear. Some drops of mercy come and some tears come in the eyes. But, not to fret, because the material world is a place where we are forced to cry. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Dukhalayam ashashvatam. This is not a place of happiness. Dukhalayam means misery. The material world is a place of suffering. And where there is suffering, there is crying. So, you may have lost your mother, you may have lost your dog, you may have lost your job, and you may have lost your mind. So many things can take place, pain, suffering, due to attachment or not getting what you desire. And so this suffering can really pinch the heart and cause us to cry. And that may not be the pure aspect of crying for Krishna in ecstasy, but the material world is designed in a way to make us cry. So cry we must. We will cry. We'll cry because of the suffering in the material world. One Buddhist sutra from some of the Buddhist writings states that every single living entity in this material world who have undergone repeated birth and death for millions and millions of life, we have all shed enough tears to fill an ocean. So if you think you've cried a lot in this lifetime, don't worry, we've cried for millions and millions of lifetimes, enough tears to fill an ocean. The next time you go to the ocean, can you fathom how many lifetimes you'd have to cry to fill the ocean? Bhavita is crying and laughing at the same time. Yeah. So we have to cry in this world. And in the process of devotional service, this is one of the symptoms of perfection, crying. So we can pretend to cry in Krishna consciousness. You can keep some onions in your bead bag or some chili powder and pull it out when you want to turn the tears on and fool everyone that you're an advanced devotee. Because Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he writes in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, he says, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga Dhana, Bhakti E Krishna Nam Smarana Krandan. Translation is Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means crying while remembering Krishna's names. So if you joined up for the Bhakti Yoga Society thinking that chant and be happy, no. Chant and cry. That's the goal. Chant and cry, 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 cry. And as Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, a wonderful disciple of Srila Prabhupada, said that those who cry, they get Krishna. Those who haven't cried, they cannot get Krishna. Because Krishna brings us to that point. He wants to see that we actually sincerely want him. And we want him so bad, more than life itself, that we cry constantly. This is a very advanced stage. So we'll continue with Prabhupada's purport. If the reaction does not take place, this change of heart, even after continuous hearing and chanting of the holy name of the Lord, it may be considered to be due to, can you guess? Offenses only. That is the opinion of the Sandarbha. In the beginning of chanting of the holy name of the Lord, if the devotee has not been very careful about evading the 10 offenses at the feet of the holy name, certainly the reaction of feelings of separation will not be visible by tears in the eyes and standing to hear. So if there are no tears in the eyes, if we're not feeling something, then we can consider that, like here it says, the heart is steel framed, And the reason for the heart being still is because of offenses. So there are different kinds of offenses: nam aparad, seva aparad, dam aparad. We can commit offenses to the holy name, and the primary offense against the holy name is to offend the Vaishnavas. So I'd like to take this opportunity to beg for those Vaishnavas who are present and not present to please forgive me for if I've knowingly or unknowingly offended you. I'm a bit of a loose cannon, so I removed myself from Facebook because, as you all might know, social media is quite a dangerous platform, and sometimes you let loose things which you would never say face to face. And I've done such things. Maybe some of you know some of those outrageous things that I've said on Facebook, and I beg you to please forgive me so that I can pull myself out of the gutter. Because we want to progress to the higher stages of bhakti, but we cannot do that with offenses. Prabhupada continues, the bhav stage is manifested by 8 transcendental symptoms. So now we're talking about that very high stage, just before love of God, prem. So the bhav stage is manifested by 8 transcendental symptoms, namely inert. So inertness means stomach. Stomach means become stunned. So if you ever see a devotee and it looks like they've fallen asleep, they may be in ecstasy. Perspiration. So that's the symptom of ecstasy, perspiration. Not only perspiration, but so drooling. So that devotee may be stunned, with his mouth hanging wide open, and some drool may be coming out. These are some of the symptoms of ecstasy. Sounds disgusting, but it's like that devotee is just in rapture of the Lord. Standing of hairs on the end. Failing in the voice. So somebody who's supposed to speak Bhagavatam, but they just can't speak. They'll get all choked up because of emotions, feelings, trembling, shaking, paleness of the body. So tears in the eye, and finally trance. Somebody. The next devotion, a summary study of Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu explains those symptoms and vividly describes other transcendental developments, both in steady and accelerating manifestations. So there's a bit more here in the purport. Is everybody doing all right? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very critically discussed all these bhakti displays in connection with some unscrupulous neophytes imitating the above symptoms for cheap appreciation. So this is what we have to be aware of. Devotional service, not a performance. We have to avoid being unscrupulous neophytes, imitating the above symptoms for cheap appreciation. One time there was a devotee who was rolling around in ecstasy on the floor in the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. And the devotees, asked, what should we do to Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada said, just kick him. and if he's really in ecstasy, then he will get up and say, hey, what are you doing? How dare you? But if this is real ecstasy, he'll carry on rolling on the ground in ecstasy. You beg for it, then you fall down. Oh, excuse me, Vaishnava. not only Vishwanath Chakravarti, but also Srila Rupa Goswami treated them very critically. So the pretenders. Sometimes all the above 8 symptoms of ecstasy are imitated by the mundane devotees, Prakriti Sahajis. So these symptoms can be imitated, all 8 of them, not just crying. So for the crying, you can use onions or chili powder to pretend. For drooling, yeah, cayenne pepper. Put some cayenne pepper in your mouth. It will make you starts drooling. But so it's quite amazing that somebody can imitate all of these symptoms. Imagine stunned, inert, trembling, paleness of body, so many symptoms. But some people actually go through the pain of actually pretending to be like them. And it's the gradual cultivation of being a pretender. You know, this is the cling of exploitation, putting on a show. Why? Prabhupada says here, for cheap appreciation, to get some appreciation, some adoration from the audience. Yeah. But the pseudo symptoms are at once detected when one sees the pseudo devotee addicted to so many forbidden things. Even though decorated with the signs of a devotee, a person addicted to smoking, drinking, or illegitimate sex with women cannot have all the above mentioned ecstatic symptoms. But it is seen that sometimes these symptoms are willfully imitated. And for this reason, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur accuses the imitators of being stone-hearted men. They are sometimes even affected by the reflection of such transcendental symptoms. Yet, if they still do not give up the forbidden habits, then they are hopeless cases for transcendental realization. So the next part of the purport is really interesting because it describes other symptoms of ecstasy, which are not like this display, sort of external display. They're more subtle. They're more there's something which you can detect. Like, for example, if you look at someone like Sabyasachi, he's always trying to use every minute somehow in Krishna consciousness. This is one of the symptoms of advancements. It's called avyartha latvam, and it's not wanting to waste even a second of time, but always being conscious that let me use my time for Krishna service. We'll continue with the purport. When Lord Chaitanya met Srila Ramananda Rai of Kavor on the bank of the Godavari, the Lord developed all these symptoms. So Lord Chaitanya speaking to Ramananda Rai, and Lord Chaitanya starting ecstatic symptoms. But because of the presence of some non-devotee brahmanas who were attendants of the Rai, the Lord suppressed these symptoms. Another example of this is Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, he was on the topmost platform of love of God, but he would suppress all these symptoms, because imagine if Srila Prabhupada came to the West and he was just rolling on the ground and shedding tears and drooling. Nobody would be able to listen to him. So he had to suppress these symptoms, put them in the tight container of his heart, and it's like an ordinary gentleman, a very distinguished gentleman, because that's how people would take this message seriously. So Lord Chaitanya, in the association of Ramananda Rai, he loves to listen to what Ramananda Rai is speaking. He's feeling ecstasy, but he suppresses these symptoms. So sometimes they are not visible even in the body of the first-class devotee for certain circumstantial reasons. Therefore, real, steady bhav is definitely displayed in the matter of. So here's the other symptoms which you can observe these. Like I gave the example of Sabyasachi, using all his time. So some of the symptoms are cessation of material desires. It's called kshanti. Utilization of every moment in the transcendental loving of service of the Lord. Avyarta kalatvam. Complete detachment from material happiness. Virakti. I'll give you an example of this, which I observed. My Gurudev, Srila Parthasarati Das Goswami. I'm serving him prasadam. So I don't know about you, but I know me, when I dish up a plate of prasadam, or I get a plate of prasadam dished up for myself, in the line, I'm very particular. I want the rice here, the dal here, the sweet rice separately, and some salad there. But I was serving my Gurudev, and he was just annoyed. I just put it on the plates and really just not interested in the sensual exploitation. Of course, deeply meditative and honoring prasadam, the mercy of the Lord, but not on the platform of exploiting the taste. And also Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his mat, when the Mahaprasadam would come out from the altar, then he would request his disciples, you mix everything together and put lots of salt. So it's just like salty mahamush. And then you distribute that so that it gets people off the platform of just enjoying, but rather honoring, dedication, serving. Very interesting. Another symptom here is pridelessness, mana sunyata. One who has developed these transcendental qualities is really possessed of the bhav stage, as distinguished from the stone-hearted imitator or mundane devotee. The whole process can be summarized as follows. The advanced devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord in a perfectly offenseless manner and is friendly to everyone can actually relish the transcendental taste of glorifying the Lord. And the result of such realization is reflected in the cessation of all material desires, etc., as above mentioned. So chant and be happy is there. The devotee is actually happy. Is actually the only person who is happy. As Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Charitamrita, he describes that those who are interested in siddhi, the siddhi kami. Gosh, the verse has escaped my mind right now. Basically describes that those who are interested in yoga perfection, those who are interested in sense gratification, those who are interested in liberation even, none of them are peaceful. Only the bhakta, only the devotee is peaceful and happy because he's feeling satisfaction in his actual constitutional position. The neophytes, due to their being in the lower stage of devotional service, are invariably envious, so much so that they invent their own ways and means of devotional regulations without following the acharyas. As such, even if they make a show of constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord, they cannot relish the transcendental taste of the holy name. Therefore, the show of tears in the eyes, trembling, perspiration, or unconsciousness, etc., is condemned. They can, however, get in touch with the pure devotee of the Lord and rectify their bad habits. Otherwise, they shall continue to be stone-hearted and unfit for any treatment. A complete progressive march on the return path home back to Godhead will depend on the instructions of the revealed scriptures directed by a realized devotee. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So there's so much in that purport. And as we were mentioning, crying for Krishna. This is actually part of our goal, to achieve these elevated states of consciousness where there's feelings. It's all based on feelings. Feelings for the Lord. There should be some feeling when we chant the holy name, some feeling when we see the deities, some feeling when we see devotees. Because, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yad yad vapi smaran bhavam tyajite ante kalevaram, that as when we leave our bodies, what do we take with us? The main thing that we take with us is our feeling, our mood. Krishna uses the word our bhav. So what is your bhav when you leave the body? That is what will take you next life. So our whole cultivation of Krishna consciousness is a cultivation of what do we feel towards Krishna? What do we feel towards the Vaishnavas? And Lord Chaitanya, he has given a very wonderful verse, which is a formula for interacting with devotees. Trinadi Sunichana Tarora Visa Hisnana Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord, and one should Kirtaniya Sadahari, chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. One should be more tolerant than a tree. One should be devoid of all sense of false prestige and should be ready to offer all respect to us. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord. Kirtaniya Sadahari. The kirtan is our main service, to glorify the Lord and to hear the glorification of the Lord. And to continue in this hearing and chanting, then we have to place ourselves in a humble position. Govinda Maharaj says, when we make a list of all the devotees that we know, then we put ourselves right at the bottom of that list. Because every single devotee that you know, you can appreciate some qualities within them that they have. Instead of seeing their faults, we can appreciate their qualities, their good qualities, their devotion. Of course, we can also look for faults, and surely we can find faults in everyone, in every single person. People would even find faults in Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, who says, Yajeta Paramam Purush, but the says, Yajeta Purusham Param. Why is Srila Prabhupada making this mistake? So people can find faults even up to that sort of level. You can find faults with your guru. You can find faults with your seniors, with your juniors, with everyone around you. But instead of that, we try to look even at the most, you could say, the most spaced out, completely wrecked bhakta, like me. And you can find some good thing. You can find some good thing, surely. If you look hard enough, there must be something good in me that you can find. And like that, you look in every devotee's heart and you can find something, which is there's some devotion to Krishna. This devotion is so special. And even those who are pretending to be devotees, they are even special. As Krishna shows in his pastime of when Krishna killed the demon, Putana, that Putana was pretending to be a devotee. She arrived on the scene in Vrindavan and she wanted to breastfeed Krishna. She wanted to perform devotional service, offer some assistance as a wet nurse. Give her breast and take care of Krishna amongst Mother Yashoda and the other elderly gopis, and they accepted. Oh, who is this heavenly damsel? The tender, deep. But Krishna, he took that opportunity to purify her because she came in contact with him. So Krishna purified her. My phone, it says it's overheating, so I don't know how long it's going to last. Could blink off any minute. Maybe I should go put it in the fridge.
I really appreciate the humor. We've come close to the end of our session.